Welcome back to the first edition of PonyFans Live, once again brought to you by Lakewood's First and 10, located at Mockingbird and Abrams in Dallas, home of the infamous Point Burger. Also brought to you by Game Day Cloth, which is set up at a table over here to our right. Love your school, love your clothes. Visit Game Day Cloth for the finest SMU gear anywhere. And PonyFans.com, the oldest, the largest, and the only free website dedicated to the SMU Mustangs and Pony fans everywhere. Once again, our guests are Brian McCann, now of the Dallas Cowboys, and Mitch Enright. And we're going to turn to Mitch a little bit. And virtually every player who's come through in the last 20 years will be part of that class that gets SMU back to a bowl game. Your class was the class that got them there. What was it that put you guys over the top and as everything came together and you ended your season in Hawaii?
Well, I think everything had to come together at the right time. We had great senior leadership by all our seniors on the team. There weren't that many, but the seniors we had did a great job. And we had younger players that stepped up. We had younger guys on offense and defense that helped us to be successful. And of course, the coaching staff did a wonderful job of getting us to the next level and finally reaching that bowl game.
It seemed at times in years past like the team would get very close and then figure out a way to lose a close game here and there, or sometimes lose more than one close game here and there. Last year, you guys went 5-3 in games decided by a touchdown or less, which is the first time in 20 years you've had a winning record in games that close. Was that just a change in karma? Was that June Jones and his staff with their Hawaiian influence? What was it that helped you get over the hump in those close games?
Well, I definitely don't think it was a change in karma. I mean, Coach Jones's first year with us, we lost probably 7 or 8 games by that amount. A touchdown to where we could have won in the fourth quarter. And what he stresses is just the power of belief. Just believing in yourself, believing in your teammates. And when you're in close games like that, which we were, practically every game last year was close. You have to believe to win, and that's what we finally did. We trusted in ourselves and our teammates and our coaches, and it paid off.
Last year at the beginning of the year, when we're writing the season previews and trying to project what's going to happen in 2009, you look at the offensive line, and it's you and a bunch of kids. Nobody else on the offensive line was older than a sophomore. And at some point during the year, that line came together as a unit and really gelled, to the point that by the end of the year, people were saying the offensive line is really one of the strengths of this team. Do you remember a particular point where you sort of felt it all come together and it started to feel like a stronger part of the team?
Yeah, I think, with the offensive line, along with the whole team, once we started winning games, we realized that we weren't getting lucky anymore. It wasn't a fluke that we were winning. We were a good team. We had good players. And I'll never forget the win we had at UAB. It was the first conference win, and it felt like 10 years for us. And then the win at Tulsa, a win on the road against a great team, Tulsa, and the whole team came together. And I know as an offensive line, we thought, okay, we're starting to roll. Let's get this done and just keep moving forward. And I look at those 2 games as really the 2 most important wins of the season.
You mentioned the Tulsa game. That was the first game where a skinny freshman from Southlake was starting at quarterback. And you'd seen him in practice every day, but and he had played a little bit during the previous week at Houston when Bo got hurt. But what was your mindset as an offense going into that game? You're going on the road, you have an 18-year-old freshman who obviously has talent, but you never know what you're going to get with freshmen other than probably mistakes. So what was your thought process going into that game, and what did you expect out of Kyle Padron at Tulsa?
Well, I think we all had confidence in Kyle just because seeing him in practice, he commanded our attention in the huddle. And, but at the same time, your first start in college, it could be a rough one. So really going into that game, we didn't know what was going to happen. And obviously everyone was pleasantly surprised because he played lights out. But that's just the kind of player that Kyle is. He steps up under the pressure, and he's definitely going to be a great one to come.
So this is 2 years in a row that you've gone into games with a true freshman standing right behind you at quarterback. What was it about him that all your teammates seemed to talk about his leadership ability. He walked in there sounding like a junior or a senior into the huddle right away. What is it about him that commands the respect of teammates, all of whom are older than he is?
Yeah, just the way he presents himself on and off the field. He did the stuff off the field to get himself prepared for the game. I mean, anyone can come in the huddle and talk the talk and demand your attention, but if you're not doing the stuff you need to do off the field, then it's going to be hard for the older guys to really respect you and play their hardest for you. But he did such a great job of watching film and getting in the weight room and studying the playbook that we knew he was ready. So it was just a great experience playing for him.
Now that he has 6 starts under his belt, and he is 5-1 as a starter, and of course set the school record with 460 passing yards to win the Hawaii Bowl, how much better can he get in his sophomore year now that he's had an extra summer behind him? He's put on, I think, 25 pounds since the start of last year. How much better can Kyle be this year?
I think the sky's the limit for Kyle. Just, he's got the perfect size. He's got the perfect work ethic. And, I know how hard he's been working this whole offseason. And the fact that, with Coach Jones's offense, you need, the more time you get in that offense, learning the offense, the better you're going to be. So now that he has, really another year under his belt learning the offense, that's going to pay off dividends for him. So, the sky's the limit for him and the whole team next year.
The offensive line now has 2 tackles who are going to be juniors this year who have sort of gone opposite directions. Kelvin Beachum came in really undersized. When he signed, he was 240 pounds soaking wet. And the former offensive line coach said he signed him after watching him play basketball, which scared some people. JT Brooks came in on the other end at 330, maybe?
340, maybe.
All right, you said it, not me. Beach has gotten up to about 290. JT Brooks has gotten down to about 290. And Beachum gets all these preseason accolades. At the end of last year, JT Brooks was named to the All Bowl Season team, or whatever it's called, by Sporting News. How good is that pair of tackles, and where do they rank among tackles in Conference USA?
Oh, I think that tandem of tackles has to be #1 in Conference USA. And, the thing is with those guys is just their work ethic. They work so hard in the offseason. They study the playbook so hard. And, when Coach Vin Clark recruited them, he recruited them for their potential. And he saw in them what other coaches couldn't see. And, they finally realized their potential. And, it was a pleasure playing with them because they're so good. And, they were so young, but they were still so good. So with 2 years left, the sky's the limit for those two. And I expect them to play at the next level just, based on their work. Oh, definitely. Based on their work ethic and, how they refuse to be denied. So I think that's in both of their futures.
Okay, so when they walked on campus a few years ago, Kelvin Beachum, skinny basketball player, JT, let's say not skinny. Did you have any idea, looking at those two guys in their first year of practice when they're on the scout team, did you have any idea that those two guys could become the kind of players they are now? No.
I mean, you never really know because their first year was my first year starting. So during 2 days when they come in, I'm so concerned with myself and learning the playbook. Everything's going, 100 miles an hour. You don't have time to really look at the freshmen and think what they could be in the long term, especially when, both of those guys were on the scout team and they weren't going to play that freshman year. So you never really know because you don't have time to look at it. But once we got into the offseason and saw how they did in the drills and how athletic they were, then yeah, you know that they can be great players.
Offensive line coach Adrian Clem talks about his mantra for the offensive line is impose your will. Are those two guys the key to this line imposing its will on a defense?
Oh, I think all 5 starters have to impose their will on the defense. I mean, if 2 offensive linemen on the offensive line are doing great and the other 3 aren't doing good, then you're in for a long game and a long season. So, Coach Clem always talks about, every single offensive lineman on the field has to do their job. And, it's so true because if you have one offensive lineman not doing his job, then the whole play is messed up. So, every single lineman that starts next year or plays, at all has to do their job. And I know Coach Clem is going to demand that of everyone because that's what he did last year, and that's why we were successful as a line.
We're going to take another break. This is PonyFans Live at Lakewood's 1st and 10. Be right back.